the liberals said. Thank you, Obama, for life in the red. Thank you for DAP and a pat on the head. Thank you for saving the banks, as millions are drowning their debt. Thank you for all of the fluff and the nothing you said. Thank you for proving we eat up identity politics. All of your policy better forgotten, just tell us what books you read. Tell us what record was top of your playlist, turning a wedding to Day of the Dead. What Quavo song went along on a heavy rotation, bombing Iraqis in bed? When they told you that 90% of your kills are civilian, what Jill Scott chorus was stuck in your head? What put you at rest after such a long day of convincing a nation it wasn't so deeply misled, that you weren't just Reagan with new age media training, who fed on our hopes like his daily bread, who preyed on the weak, who was never unwilling to serve you a speech to remind you the middle class needed to bleed, and you helped us succeed if you learned to accept it, and better yet, learn how to laugh as they bled. Round of applause, laughter erupts, mic gets dropped, it's the end of his set. And the crowd once hungry are now unstunned from the glow of celebrity, which is impressive, especially since they're contented to sit and be civil while all of the donors are fed. They thin out the herd by 1 million a week if it gives the elite an illusion of peace, like they're out of the path of the future we reap, and they won't be debris in the wake of its tread. But the future is now, bathe in the sound, drown in the dread. Hide in the lounge, hire more guards at your gatehouse, hire someone to come build you a safe house under your shed. Hide with your diamonds and files, the files you keep to yourself and the files you keep for the feds. Hide in the dark for a while and watch all the value regress. Watch all the worth of your wealth on this earth melt down in a pool with the rest of the cess. The affluence left over after the worldly collapse of the affluent. After it's back to the dirt with the rights of their birth, privileged smirks and their unpaid taxes, hashtag blessed. This has all been a nightmare, capitalism was only a test. So you need not weep and you need not repeat what the liberals said. We will not be saved by people who say that the water is safe while they look in your face and they pantomime sips of lead. Honey, nobody's lifting us out of this mess. Honey, nobody's lifting us out of this mess.
But he doesn't understand. How could he? He's a policeman.
I'm just here to set the place on fire. I'm World War III. I am a cacophony.
I bet they'll burn the record, because the truth would have them hung. And the record will reflect that there were thousands of tongues screaming, "Stop Cop City," at the top of their lungs, waiting for democracy that never comes. Now in war, you hear a chorus born of voices in defeat. In Georgia, there's a forest full of vibrant, healthy trees. And somewhere in a meeting room no camera ever sees, a council plans on bridging both extremes to build a city where no citizen will sleep, where every home's as vacant as the soul of every cop that walks its streets. They are empty, cold, and lifeless, like the heart of every officer patrolling on the beat, doling out the beat to all the homeless folks they meet. Another swine smiling while they wallow in your taxes, but they still insist their funding's incomplete. So we had better spend approximately double what we'd need to make the water safe in Flint so they can train somewhere in peace. Far removed from public view, disturbingly discreet. Somewhere they can breathe and learn the proper way to place a knee. Away from prying eyes and all those witnesses so quick to scream and start a hurried stream. I guess our heaps of billions wrenched away from education still can't supplement their needs. Well, that's breaking news to me. I was under the impression every city in this country was a playground for police. A space for them to train to be the worst that they could be, till they're free of any conscience when they meet us in the streets.
I thought that they used Akron as the Stasi soft release and gave New York a budget big enough to fill the sea. I thought the training ground for the driveway drive-by existed at Los Angeles PD. And I think it might be far too late for us to see Atlanta's just a single seed. One they seek to plant in every space that's quiet, safe, and green. They want a grove in every city, one whose harvest picks us clean. And the fruit that forms like tumors on the branches it conceives will curdle every healthy humor should you trust enough to eat. So believe the morbid rumors you hear echo on the breeze, for the forest had its hands up and was calmly on its knees. And I bet they'll burn the record, for the record will concede that Tortuguita had their hands up when the fusillade released. That constituent opinion does not sway you in the least when you're an agent of the fascist beast. And if any cop is listening, then memorize this part. You are more a waste of public space than noble beating heart. You will never be as brave as those you've snuffed out in the dark. You have only left a stain, you will not make a lasting mark. And the same for every council chair who heard their city speak, who were asked to represent the ones who chose them all to lead, and who opt for more Gestapo because they're frightened and they're weak. You cannot claim democracy, then sleep on free speech like the whisper of a forest creek. You cannot block dissent like it was all some awful dream, any more than you'd endeavor to remove the children's screams from a damning piece of evidence that we don't need police. And we would gladly trade them each for trees. So I bet they'll burn the record, that our kids will never know how they designed a fascist paradise and vowed to make it so. And death hung in the air one night to consecrate their land with the consummate oppressor's hand. And now, shining on a line, a medal waits for every man in a city where no human stands. It's just the guardians of capital, with killer's union drip, blood badge on their uniform and bravery on their hip. No humanity to speak of, no compassion on their lips. Just Atlanta under full eclipse. So I bet they'll burn the record, lest the truth would see them hung. For the record will reflect that there were thousands of tongues crying, "Stop Cop City," at the top of their lungs. But democracy would never come.
I'm World War III. I am a cacophony.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? Hi, everybody. What's up? It's Indy. It's Tuesday night. And wow, do we have a lot of stuff to get to tonight. My tab thing looks like Reefs does when he does boat smashing into other boats, and we do that on Sunday nights. If you haven't joined us yet for that, it's a good time. I actually put a clip of one of the NSFW clips that we did on Sunday night where it was top 15 noises by dads, and I think I made 14 out of 15 or 13 out of 15. It's very funny. But yeah, check that out. We do reacts and goofy stuff to eye bleach after the end of the week and all these horrors that we have to deal with. And we have a lot more this week. The fascism has been dialed up, but the authoritarianism and the technocracy is clamping down, is what I would call it. I see everybody is starting to make their way in. Yes, that is a lot. Yes, we do have, like, again, boats level tabs. Oh my God. And I have several to read through. So yeah, we're gonna be a while. Pull up a chair, get a drink. Fascism. Well, yes, but it's more than again, fascism is the merger of the corporate and the state. And this is literally what's happening here between Prospera and ICE being ramped up and people dying in ICE privately run facilities and Palantir surveillance powering the entire thing. You've got the merger of the state and the commercial. So yeah, Necrotech. Well, that's one way to see it. Seven Side, welcome. Good to see you over on Substack. We are live over on Substack as well at IndieMediaToday.com. That's where I publish 7 days a week, or I try to, at least 6 days a week, try to be 7. And that's all the clips from this show as individual segments that you can download, share, and they're their own podcasts. We do live stream alerts for this show. We do original articles for this show. We put out weekly updates for INN and share that from the Indie News Network Substack newsletter. Oof, there's a lot going on again. So 3 things are going on, and they're all kind of interlinked, which is, again, not a surprise because all this stuff is tied together, and we've been covering how it's been tied together for years. But we're talking about what happened in Minnesota and in Minneapolis specifically with Renee Nicole Good, who was murdered by an ICE agent, and the cover up and the narratives and the fighting and everything that's happened since then. That's the first part. We're also going to talk about the escalation that ICE has clearly done, not just in Minnesota, but nationwide. And I've got a bunch of different examples. We're going to also talk about why I think that's happening. I think part of it is that they want to scare the crap out of us, and they want us sharing this and talking about this and being afraid. But it's not just about sharing it. It's about figuring out, what do we do now? And how do we respond to this? And I've got some answers on that. And of course, like every week, we've got Fuck Israel. We're going to start with Fuck Israel tonight. We're going to get there. Before we do that, Spiros, thank you so much. An annual subscription over at IndieMediaToday.com. Again, Michael, my friend Michael from Ginsburg from Actionable Truth and Actions, he's really pushing people, saying, look, if you really support going on your own, don't allow for subscriptions over at Substack, over at their platforms. Don't allow them to participate in your monetization. And I really appreciate any ways that people want to support. I really do. But I certainly do prefer if you go through some of these other tools like Cash App, $ Indie News Network, or ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, where we pay a lot less in fees. And most importantly, the hedge funds that run Substack don't necessarily get a piece. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. The PayPal Mafia gets their hands on it. Andreessen Horowitz doesn't, I don't believe. Patreon.com/Indie News Network. That goes right to our bank. So there's a direct relationship there. And then you've got IndieNewsNow.com. That's our relationship. That's our website. We actually have a Stripe link there. That's how we monetize from our own website. They don't double dip, at least. I don't have to pay 10% to Substack if you go there and you support directly over there. So there are ways to do that, to work around the platforms. Any way you want to do that, really, we appreciate it. If you're unable to, we totally understand. Times are really tough right now. Totally get that. Share. Tell people about this. Share the links to your social media. Most importantly, we're suppressed to all hell. Make clips if you can. Share short things that you think are funny or are meaningful to people that you think people would actually get something out of. So thank you for doing all of that. Really, it really helps, and it makes all the difference, because that's how we find new people. That's how we grow the subscriber base and the supporter base, and we need to do that. All right. So we're gonna start, like I said, with one of the classic segments, which is Fuck Israel. Now, I can't really play the music here, though I would love to.
Who are these people?
Oh, I've got a who are these people? Wait, what happened? Marvel Rivals. What? Is this an ad? That's not what I had here. Hey, wait a minute. Stop. This is what's going on here. Did they replace the video? They did. What the hell's going on with Instagram? Okay. This was supposed to be me dancing into Fuck Israel like I do every day, but that's not what this is. This is a Carrie Wedler video. I have no idea what's happening here and why we're being served this video. That's really strange. That other one must have been taken. That happened to us last week too. This is the document that I put together for tonight's stream. Really strange. I have no idea what happened there. Okay. So I guess we're going to move right on to anti-war. That was going to be fun. A little bit of fun. Fuck Israel stuff. But it had the Bob Villain song, the Death to the IDF song playing in the background. So either copyright stuff or, just because they'll call it hate speech and flag us for whatever. But this is an article from Kyle Anzalone over at Anti-War. And I think everybody kind of knew and figured that it was going to be a ruse at the quote-unquote ceasefire, even though they never actually ceased firing. But that at some point they were going to lift it, and they were just going to start bombing again. After they've now taken more than 50% of Gaza and shrunk it with that yellow line, and they've said that they're going to kill anybody who crosses that yellow line. All right. They have, of course, they won't allow the Palestinians to fish. They're now trying to shepherd them into one of 3 different concentration camps of concentrated people, whatever. And then they'll bomb those camps too. That's the plan for March, a new Gaza onslaught. Why? Because they've been getting retaliated and bombed? I don't understand this, but of course, because they own our Congress, nobody here is going to question it. So Israel plans to resume Gaza onslaught in March. Israel's killed over 400 Palestinians since the ceasefire went into effect. But of course, they're planning to return to larger scale military operations later this year because nobody's holding them accountable or going to stop them. Multiple outlets are reporting that Israeli leaders are drawing up military plans to launch an invasion of Gaza City in March. Wall Street Journal, okay, bastion of lefty a conversation, of course, spoke with people familiar with the planning in Tel Aviv. That means the IDF and the Mossad, who explained that the IDF has new battle plans for ground operations in Gaza. A ground invasion in Gaza would destroy the ceasefire and peace deal that was brokered by President Donald Shit My Pants Trump. The guy that declared himself the president of Venezuela this week. Okay. Israel's violated the truce over 1,000 times in 3 months, to their own admission, and blocked aid from entering Gaza, to their own admission. While over 425 Palestinians have been murdered by Israel during the truce, Israel was also killing scores of Palestinians daily before the ceasefire. Naturally, because that's what they do. At least 3 Palestinians were killed in Gaza on Sunday. The Times of Israel reports speaking with an Israeli official who said that the new operations would begin in March and start with an invasion on Gaza City. Who's left? One Arab diplomat told the outlet that he believes Donald Trump could prevent Netanyahu from resuming negotiations in Gaza. I don't think that Trump can prevent Netanyahu from doing anything because he takes orders from Netanyahu. Netanyahu and Trump are demanding that Hamas give up power in Gaza and disarm as a condition for continuing the ceasefire. Except that they have not honored their side of the agreement, but they want the other people to honor their side and then some, and further concede. Of course. Hamas has stated that it's willing to hand over power to an independent Palestinian government in Gaza and would disarm in the process of creating an independent Palestinian state. But that's not what Israel wants. And while Israel is decimating the Strip, its forces are likely to face stiff resistance from Gaza if it restarts the invasion. Agree to disagree there. Tel Aviv estimates, yeah, bullshit. Hamas has at least 20,000 fighters and 60,000 rifles. Rifles ain't gonna do shit against a tank. Come on, man. You're literally printing the Tel Aviv Hasbara? Okay, and if there were 30,000 Hamas fighters when this thing started, how are there still 20,000 left if they've bombed the area and displaced every single person? There's not 20,000 people in any secret tunnels. Give me a break. All this stuff is nonsense. Nonsense. And because it's saying Tel Aviv estimates, I don't believe one word of it. because this is just, they're pulling it out of their ass. They don't know. They're trying to scare the crap. They want to get funding, all right? And they want to scare the crap out of our Congress. So, don't know if I would republish that without questioning it. And the reason why I would publish it without questioning it is because of stuff like this. Now, this is from another aggregator of content about Palestine called Palestine Will Be Free. And they have reported, and multiple outlets have reported, that multiple journalists and activists are now claiming and are now reporting that while they were on the Freedom Flotilla, that they were raped by the Israelis. This is a serious, serious accusation, and one that I don't think is any much of a surprise, honestly, because we know that that's part of their culture in their military. Men, women, children, they don't care. And it's used as a humiliation ritual. They had a prosecutor that leaked a video of this type of behavior where they literally raped a prisoner to death. And they were going to hold these guys on trial. I believe that they're being paraded around Israel as heroes right now. It's gross. All right. So I can't imagine what they've done and continue to do to Palestinians under their complete control, is what they're saying. Days after, this is, by the way, any trigger warning, anyone who's been sexual assault victims, and this could trigger, you may want to disappear for 20 minutes while I get through this. This is going to be tough. Days after a Freedom Flotilla participant said that the Israelis raped her after abducting her from one of their ships last fall, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition revealed in a statement on Friday that multiple journalists and activists from the flotilla have now come forward with accounts of sexual violence, including rape, committed while they were held in Israeli custody. I'd like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. The thing that I'm surprised by is that it took this long for people to come forward, but they all have to deal with their trauma, and I'm not certainly going to criticize people in their time frames. It's horrible. Late last month, German journalist Anna Littke said that the Israelis raped her while she was being transferred between prisons after everyone on her flotilla vessel, the Conscience, which had dozens of journalists and medics on board, was abducted by Israeli troops. Quote, "We were transferred from one prison to another, and during the strip searches, I was raped," she revealed. Okay. That's the article from December 28th. Litke's account marked the first time a flotilla participant alleged rape against the Israelis. However, her admission appears to have opened a floodgate of confessions. The flotilla coalition condemns the rape and sexual assault of course, flotilla participants by the Israeli police and prison officials, following Israel's most recent unlawful attack on civilian vessels and the forcible detention of civilians from international waters. Multiple journalists and activists from the flotilla have now come forward with accounts of sexual violence, including rape, committed while they were held in Israeli custody, quote unquote. This is directly from the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. In a separate statement that it published on its website, the coalition revealed that 2 more activists had come forward alleging rape against the Israelis. And you get names. Italian journalist Vincenzo Filone, that's not a woman, who was also aboard the Conscience, was subjected to repeated sexual violations amounting to rape while unlawfully detained, as was Australian activist Surya McEwen. It took a lot of courage for these people to come forward, honestly. The coalition published the testimonies of these 3 participants who were raped by the Israelis. After I was kidnapped by Israeli forces, I was subjected to repeated physical and sexual abuse. During a forced strip search, I was raped by Israeli female guards. I was coming forward not for myself, but for all the women who've endured sexual violence and sexual torture in Israeli prisons, for those who didn't survive these attacks, for those who are experiencing this abuse now, and for those who cannot speak about it. Vincenzo says that on 3 separate occasions, he was ordered to enter a small, specially arranged room where he was completely stripped and subjected to invasive and painful anal searches. Why? What's up there? They know it's torture. It's humiliation. I remained silent each time to avoid provoking further violence, to deny the guards the satisfaction of my suffering. During the third search, the pain became unbearable and was compounded by mockery, verbal abuse, including the words, "Do you like it, Hamas whore?" and the photographing of my body. I'm still unable to find peace, because if they were willing to do this to me, I can't imagine what they've done and continue to do to the Palestinians under their complete control. Yes, we can imagine. We've been reporting on it, only if you pay attention. We've seen the bodies with the tank tire tracks on them, the treads. It's the most disgusting things you can imagine. Here's Syria, the same thing. I was stripped naked and sexually assaulted by Israeli officers while being held hostage. One held a gun to my head, angrily threatening that he would kill me, while the other yanked and pulled on my genitals perversely and almost gleefully. While there's a psychic cost to this experience, I absolutely refuse to feel shamed, lessened, or strained by it, as these all belong solely to the perpetrators. This small taste of the sadism that Zionist colonizers inflict en masse on Palestinians has not weakened my commitment, but rather strengthened my resolve to work toward liberation, unquote. I'll bet they never signed up for that when they signed up for the flotilla. The coalition statement went on to highlight the copious documentation of the Israelis unleashing sexual violence, including rape, upon Palestinians whom they've abducted from Gaza and the West Bank and hauled up in their notorious rape and torture dungeons over the last couple of years. Many without trial, without charge. They just take them. It highlighted the November Palestinian Center for Human Rights report, which published 4 harrowing testimonies from Palestinians abducted from Gaza during the course of the ongoing Israeli genocide in the besieged enclave. Again, I think we talked about this then. The report revealed the rape of 4 anonymous individuals: a 42-year-old woman, a 35-year-old man, a 41-year-old man, and an 18-year-old man. No, that's a boy. All 4 revealed horrific rape with bottles, wooden sticks, and dogs. And by, of course, Israeli troops. But they literally had dogs do that. Disgusting. PCHR has appealed for justice for the victims, but Palestinians don't receive justice in the occupation's kangaroo courts. They're only dehumanized, abused, and killed. The coalition statement also referred to the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and that's the OHCHR report from March of last year. That 49-page report, titled "More Than a Human Can Bear," revealed Israel's systematic use of sexual, reproductive, and other forms of gender-based violence since October 7, 2023, and prior. And they don't just do this to Palestinian women, they did this to African Jewish women, where they were sterilizing them without their knowledge. It revealed in great detail the total dehumanization of the Palestinians by Israelis and how they've employed every possible form of sexual abuse to break them down. The coalition put the rape of its activists in this larger context of Israeli impunity, of which Palestinians continue to be the principal victims. This is not, again, yes, the horrific assault on flotilla volunteers must be understood in the broader context of an entrenched system of violence in which Israeli soldiers, police, and prison guards have long operated with impunity. And now that's coming here, and we're going to get to that. Sexual violence, including rape, gang rape, humiliating strip searches, and other forms of sexual torture, has been repeatedly committed against Palestinians in Israeli custody and documented by Israeli, Palestinian, and international human rights organizations. Nobody is denying this stuff. They're almost proud of it. In conclusion, thankfully, the coalition appeals to the United Nations and its member states to demand unfettered access to detention facilities and an independent international inquiry into sexual violence by Israeli forces. And that's going to do what exactly? It also asked the International Criminal Court to urgently investigate all allegations of sexual violence and torture in Israeli detention. Again, that's going to do what exactly? We're going to investigate the fact that they've already admitted this, that they're doing this illegal war crime. What are we going to do about it? And lastly, it makes an appeal to the global civil society, and particularly media institutions, to break the silence on abuses against Palestinians and international activists alike, and to demand an end to systems of violence that thrive on impunity. Yes, I agree, but man, does it feel like we're getting slapped in the face with that right now. A mountain of testimonies has been collected from Palestinians and published across several reports by multiple local and international organizations. Again, especially since the start of the Gaza genocide on October 8th. October 7th, there was a retaliation. They didn't start the bombing on Gaza till October 8th. I would say that that's when the genocide actually started, personally. However, none of these has made any difference to Israeli behavior. No UN body has made any attempt to interrogate the Israelis or hold the culprits to account, despite the genocide heirs openly boasting about the dehumanizing treatment of the Palestinians and sealing it with the genocidal state's imprimatur. Moreover, a vast majority of Israelis have shown their full support for raping Palestinians. When a group of Israeli soldiers were taken in for questioning for violently raping a Palestinian, an act caught on camera, Israelis rioted to get the rapists released. For several days afterwards, they went to protests across Israel to assert their right to rape Palestinians. A staggering 65% of Israeli Jews supported gang raping Palestinians, which again, disgusting. In the 2 weeks since Litka revealed her rape at the hands of the Israelis, the German state, which of course has enthusiastically participated in the Israeli barbarism in Gaza, with money, weapons, and diplomatic support, as well as silencing and arresting the people that are speaking out against it, has not so much as made a statement in her support or asked the Israelis to carry out even a perfunctory inquiry into her claims. Because they would say that she risked, that she took her own risk into her own hands when she got on that boat. Because they're disgusting scumbags. And they're owned. And Israel probably has, kind of compromising material on all of them through their phones. They have everybody. In the time since Fallon and McEwen's statements were published by the FFC, their governments in Italy and Australia, which have also been in on the Israeli genocide, have been also silent. What a surprise. While the Palestinians have had no recourse to justice, neither in the occupation's kangaroo courts nor in the international forums, the last 27 months, in particular, have made it abundantly clear that even Western citizens standing for justice for Palestinians will face the same fate as the Palestinians themselves. Okay? And support, again, independent journalist and independent aggregator Palestine Will Be Free that published that statement from the Freedom Flotilla and summarized what was happening. Fuck Israel. Now, we can't ever forget, it's been more than a year. And I want to continue to talk about this man because this is somebody who truly stood up against the IDF and treated patients until the last minute, until they literally took him away in an IDF tank and disappeared him in a torture prison. And he's been there now for 13 months. His name is Dr. Hussam Abu Safia. And Mondoweiss did an article about him this week. Israel's detained him without charges for over a year. Why has the New York Times refused to cover his case? That's Dr. Abu Safia. All right, the iconic photo that went viral of him walking through the rubble in Gaza to be detained by Israeli forces. Today he's being held without charges, but you wouldn't know it from reading the New York Times. And this again, Eva Bartlett, Indie Media Award honoree, friend of the network, is knows Dr. Hussam Abu Safia. She's incredibly, this is really personal for her. 1 year ago, an iconic photograph from Gaza went viral worldwide. It showed a man in a white physician's coat walking unarmed through a destroyed landscape of rubble toward 2 Israeli army tanks. That man was Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, a pediatrician who was the director of the Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza. He was walking toward his arrest. A year later, Dr. Abu Safia is still in an Israeli prison. He has not been officially charged with anything. His lawyer says he's lost a third of his body weight and suffers from heart problems. There's him in the alleyway walking toward the tanks. There's actually video of him getting in the tank. There have been global campaigns for Dr. Abu Safia's release. The head of the WHO also issued an appeal. Amnesty International, which declines to represent prisoners who've used or advocated violence, waged a special campaign for him. Colleagues in the medical and public health fields have also demanded his freedom. I remember a viral video started by Dr. Yipang Ji in Toronto, and we covered that a year ago on this show for the viral campaign to get him freed. But not a single word about this remarkable man's appeared in the New York Times since January 7th, 2025, when the paper published an article that did report on his arrest, but included in the very first sentence an unproven Israeli charge that militant groups had used that hospital as a command center. WAPO has also completely ignored Dr. Abu Safia since his arrest, even though it had previously quoted him several times about children in his hospital suffering and dying from malnutrition. So he was good enough to quote, but not good enough to mention when they captured him and kidnapped him and started torturing him. In today's media landscape, the Times and the Post are more important than ever in setting the reporting agenda in the United States. I totally disagree with that statement. The cable news, although his thesis is that the cable news networks lift many of their subjects from these flagship papers, especially the Times, instead of doing their own reporting. That's true. Regional newspapers like the Chicago Tribune and the LA Times that once provided something of a counterweight have been forced to close most of their overseas bureaus, so the American audience is dependent on a shrinking handful of reporters. Also, a fair charge. Dr. Hussam Abu Safia is not an obscure person. He's prominent within Gaza, where he has strong connections with international colleagues in the medical and public health fields. Anyone with a cell phone could have reached plenty of people who could have been the sources for a profile. Articles could have included details such as the fact that he stayed at his post even after his own son, Ibrahim, had been killed in an Israeli air attack along with dozens of other staff at his hospital, or that he had to operate on his own kid without anesthesia, if I remember correctly. Instead, he's become an unperson. Why? Well, we can't be certain, but an educated guess is that Dr. Abu Safia, who's, let's remember, a pediatrician, could have spent the past year giving expert moving testimony about how Israel's war on Gaza was starving children to death. He could have rebutted those offensive reports in certain American media outlets that tried to claim that kids in Gaza who died had pre-existing conditions and weren't actually all that hungry. He also could have been helping and treating the kids in Gaza for the past year, of course. So Israel understandably wanted to silence him and has kept him incommunicado without charges for over a year. But why did the U.S. press help suppress his views? Well, we know that too. New York Times veterans will confide that 90% of their self-censorship around Palestine is unspoken. They don't need to be told. Reporters and editors there are understandably ambitious and intelligent, and they don't need to be told that getting a reputation as anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian could damage or even end their careers. The U.S. press self-censorship is even more pathetic when you contrast it with how a leading Israel paper, Haaretz, did in fact cover the story. In July, for instance, reporter Nir Hassan spoke to Dr. Abu Safia's lawyer, Gehid Kassem, who charged that her client was suffering severe hunger and abuse in the Israeli prison. She also said that he'd been beaten, had an irregular heartbeat, and that he and other prisoners were in a cell that is underground, depriving him and his cellmates of daylight. So we found this out, but we didn't find it out from American newspapers because they don't care, and certainly Israel's not giving them access unless they're going to perform some kind of a puff piece. And nobody is challenging Israel for holding these people hostage without charge indefinitely because he could possibly treat children and he could speak out about what's being done to children. Fuck Israel. Finally, I'm going to read this article, and it might be a little self-indulgent, and I'll be honest on this one. I read this because this is personal to me. These motherfuckers are using the religion that I was raised with and that I've been assigned since birth and that I identify as, and the quote-unquote values that I was raised under. Not Zionist, but Jewish, because Jews have existed long before Zionism ever did. This gentleman by the name of Phil Rockstro on New Year's Eve published an article about what we are called as Jews that oppose what Israel is doing and that oppose the existence of Israel to begin with. All right. Self-hating Jew, capo. What about Hamas? Every Zionist accusation is a confession. There is no both sides in genocide. Zionists have attempted to teach me the following. One, because I'm Jewish, all Palestinians clamor and scheme to have me erased from the earth. And two, there is no such entity as the Palestinian people, which are both insane. Damn convenient. The people you're perpetrating a genocide upon don't exist. Damn odd that the people you're erasing, who don't exist, aim to erase you. I've been instructed, because I understand the reason for Palestinian resistance, that I am a capo, defined as a Jew who gained privileges by their cooperation with their oppressors within Nazi concentration camps. Yet I met with belligerent obtuseness, mental walls of bristling denial when I point out, before my grandfather was arrested and imprisoned in Sachsenhausen concentration camp, he was a member of the anti-Nazi underground. He was, in short, a member of a resistance organization that stood in violent opposition to a nation attempting to create a highly militarized ethno-supremacist state. Yet whenever I aver, Israel is exactly that Zionist apologist snarl, I'm a capo. Okay? That's exactly what they are. Think this through. If my grandfather and his fellow Jewish prisoners had managed to stage an uprising against their Nazi prison keepers and an attendant prison breakout, including their resistance spilling out into the streets of Berlin, without a doubt, history would have regarded them as heroes. Yet, as history as related by Third Reich Nazis, if Germany had emerged victorious in the end, would have labeled them as October 7th type of rampaging terrorists. Therefore, in memory of my grandfather, I stand in solidarity with the besieged, living in constant terror, Palestinian people, and their acts of resistance against their ethno-supremacist oppressors, the latter, the actual betrayers of Jewish resistance against the state-sanctioned hate. That's his grandfather. Regarding the "but Hamas," my late father, orphaned as an infant, adopted by a Jewish mother from the Lower East Side in New York, and a Gentile father, a New Orleans denizen via Staten Island, snapped the iconic photograph below on the streets of Birmingham, Alabama. He sold the photograph for purpose of keeping a roof over our family's head to his photojournalism syndicate, and the image was subsequently published on the front page of the New York Times and the pages of Life magazine. That was pretty big at the time. When people demand why I, as a Jewish person, I'm repelled by Zionism, I offered in reply variations of: one, my mother is a survivor of the Holocaust; two, growing up as I did in Jim Crow-ruled Birmingham, Alabama, upon my first visit to Israel, I detected a pronounced and ruling bigotry-rancid mindset of the Zionist citizenry that was an analog to the mindset of the Third Reich Germans and Jim Crow-era U.S. Southerners, complete with all the noxious casuistry and soul-defying psychological projections to which individuals in possession of majority status privilege in ethno-supremacist societies are prone. My family was scorned as N-word lovers by Jim Crow clinging Alabamians as I'm slandered as a capo or a capo by Zionist true believers. True lunatics is what they are. True fundamentalists is what they are. When I was a child, walking the streets of Birmingham with my mother, according to Jim Crow law, black men were obliged, under threat of arrest, to cross the street when in the path of an approaching white woman. As is the case with present-day Zionists, the mindset evinces a pathological fear within the head of the oppressor in regard to the oppressed. As is the case with its fear-based and brutal analog in the Zionist state, the mindset is a progenitor of all manner of societal pathology, from casual cruelty to genocidal impulses. Thus, when Zionists accuse me and other anti-Zionist Jews of tribe-betraying treachery, thus enabling of Israel's savage, blood-crazed mortal enemies, the following truism comes to mind in regard to Zionist apologists and every other authoritarian bigoted brutes. Every accusation is a confession. We said that before on this show. To wit, every accusation regarding the crimes against humanity committed by Hamas, the Israeli thugocracy has exceeded 10,000-fold. Again, I just reported on that in the story before. Moreover, opinion polls of the Israeli citizenry reveal that they're in full support of the worst of the uniformed thugs of the IDF's war crimes, including the wholesale and planned starvation of Gaza's children. When Jews such as myself regard with mortification and condemn in the strongest term the conflation of Judaism and Zionism, the abominations perpetrated by the latter group are the type of unforgivable actions that we dread will be associated in a broad, indiscriminate manner with us, the primary group. They don't represent me, but I'm not going to let them take what is mine for themselves. All war crimes should not only be regarded as reprehensible, but there is also a minefield of false equivalence stretching between Palestinian resistance and Zionist war criminality, between Palestinian struggle for survival and Israel's attempt to erase not only their presence from the land of their ancestors, but their history as a viable people from collective memory. Hence, an inadvertent confession of genocidal intent. It's why they're wiping out all the museums and everything historical and all their record books and all their medical records, everything. Then there's this, before you gibber, but Hamas too. Allow this to sink in. Place yourself in the position of the people in Gaza, a location that human rights organizations termed an open-air prison well before October 7th. The prison breakout, which is the accurate way to describe October 7th. Considering the evils that have been perpetrated on Gazans, I don't like that term, on Palestinians by the Zionist regime, those kinds of condemnations should be regarded as facile and feckless declarations and utterances of casuistry. Then there's this to consider. The history of the West reveals acts of suppression inflicted on powerless people abroad will engender a chickens coming home to roost effect, i.e. the principle of perpetual poultry returns. State-perpetrated repression and violence in foreign policy traveled homeward. Did anything happen this week that would indicate that that's in motion already or already here? In the U.S., to greater and greater degrees, speech is censored, ICE thuggery reigns, religious zealotry acts in the service of mercenary agendas, and there seeds on the highest seat of power a within the threshold of Alzheimer's president, allegedly, surrounded by lick-spittle tools and manic fools, who's an ambulatory caricature of a preening dictator. The dismal and deranged criteria dovetails and cross-pollinates with Western acceptance and enabling of Israel's brutal and endless oppression of the Palestinian people. As noted above, every accusation aimed at the resistors of tyranny is in fact an admission of intent. Here's the children's campaign assaulted with water cannons, police water cannons in the Jim Crow South. Again, this is the photo by his father that was published in Life magazine and in the New York Times. Iconic. The notion of Jews returning to the quote-unquote promised land is mythos created by Bronze Age barbarians. My Ashkenazi Jewish DNA reports that my ancestral home is as follows: Germany, France, Spain, Greece, and Albania, with 4% coming from northern Iran, Iraq, etc., i.e. ancient Persia, the sum total of nada from Israel. In contrast, the DNA of Palestinians reveals, wait for it, that they're the true descendants of the biblical era Jews. They possess the right to return, not my pasty narrow ass. Yet European settler colonialists, my relatives, expelled them from their rightful homeland and forced Palestinians and Israel's neighbors to live on their knees in perpetual supplication for the sins of Europe. The fantasy turned into waking nightmare of the returning to the promised land is, as noted above, the noxious mythology of Bronze Age barbarians. The mythos is noxious indeed. Quote, when any system lapses into extremis, a physical version of the second law of thermodynamics kicks in, negative entropy is in play, and collapse becomes inevitable. As is the case with Zionists, the Nazis swooned in false mythos. To wit, they believed the reign of the Third Reich would herald the rebirth of the Teutonic Knights, thus would bring about a German Golden Age. The 1,000-year Reich lasted all of 12 years. Extremists have a pronounced proclivity to set in motion their own demise. As with the civil rights era campaigns in the U.S. Deep South, the hateful, casually racist, and cruel nature of Jim Crow apologists, as is the case with Israelis and their unhinged apologists, infesting social media. Do you hear me? Eve Fartlow and Laura Loomer, and their attendant serial posting of vile and vicious content reveals the ugly, bullying character of the genocidal prone nation. Thus is proving to be self-undermining. The graphic below, despite the relentless torrent of Zionist propaganda retailed on legacy media outlets, reveals the soul-defying actions of a nation of bullies, if not homicidal maniacs. How is it possible to ignore the massive degree of wanton carnage that the IDF has inflicted on Gaza's tiny landmass on a more massive level than the death and destruction wrought by the bombs, incendiary weapons, add in the present-day murder bots that were targeted on major cities by both the Allies and Axis powers during aerial warfare campaigns of World War II, like Dresden? That's the graphic. That's like Palestinian blood. You might as well drench that in Palestinian blood. Every red dot represents an Israeli bomb that's hit Gaza in the last 2 years. Look at that. With all, the world has witnessed a war crime of the collective punishment crime, okay, among many, that has surpassed any in the modern era. Yet the major powers of the West have not only remained silent, but provided Zionist war criminals with the weaponry and finances to perpetuate mass murder. When a nation's foundational mythos is, because Jews were victims of a campaign of annihilation, now that's the Jews are actually members of a broad and varied religious group, by a European power, we, Zionists, a political movement that engendered the establishment of a nation state, have been granted carte blanche to eliminate anyone, any group, or nation that we insist is a threat. Is it inane to ask whether I sympathize with Hamas? The question should be, are you in simpatico with your own humanity? Like, this is what's going on. Am I a self-hating Jew for my lack of simpatico with these kippah bedecked jerkopaths? Like, fuck Israel. Follow Phil Rockstro. philrockstro.substack.com. I just started following him on Facebook, reading his stuff on Substack. This is the first article of his that I brought. He's also independent. And this is his own experience, his own take, his own personal feelings. So I appreciate that. I don't see enough anti-Zionist Jews that are writing about this stuff and how we're dealing with this and how we're dealing with our own communities. So, all right. And that is the end of the Fuck Israel segment for now. Woohoo! All right. Yeah, how does humanity collectively fuck with their own heads this way over and over again? I wish I could figure it out. Honestly, Natalie, it's beyond disheartening that this is tolerated and encouraged and funded and et cetera, et cetera. It's madness. So frustrating. And I continue to fight people within my own community and try to wake people up about this. Part of it is doing this and documenting it so that when they say, no, this isn't this, I have an entire library of fuck Israel stuff to send them. Because this stuff is all over if you decide to look for it, but it's buried in the publications and in the outlets and in the journalists that they consider to be legitimate, credible, and that they follow and read. We have to provide them with this alternative way to find this. That's why we do this. So support independent media, because certainly, again, the New York Times, Washington Post, they're not covering the stories of the flotilla members that claim that they were raped by Israel. The ways to do that and the ways to support our endeavor here are to Cash App $Indie News Network. That comes right to us. ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. That'll pop something up on screen. I saw somebody did that earlier. Thank you so much for that. Okay, then we also have paypal.me/Indie News Network and patreon.com/Indie News Network, where we have some monthly subscribers over there. And then our website, and the name of this show is IndieNewsNow.com. Right? IndieNewsNow.com is actually an aggregator website, but we also go live there. There's ways to get to merch. There's ways to keep the news free and to support there with a $5 a month or whatever amount you want to leave tip. Okay, and then we have Substacks over at IndieMediaToday.com, where we're live right now, and also at INNNewsletter.com, where I publish stuff over for the network that I am a co-founder of and participate in with Angel Rivera, who's in chat, and Reef and Colin, who are preparing for tomorrow night's INN News, and Jesse Jett, who we do American Tradition with, and Snow Himbo, who we're going to do Nobody Wants to Work Anymore with, I think this Thursday, and then The Dissident, who's been publishing up a storm, 2 to 3 articles a day at the307.substack.com. Check everybody out, really. Jacqueline Conway joined. Oh, that's awesome. I'm a big fan of Jacqueline Conway. But yeah, these amazing people have already supported our network. And thank you to Spiros this week for an annual subscription to IndieMediaToday.com, as well as Lady Alex M has stepped up big. Really appreciate that. Totally understand. Everyone who can give whatever they can. If you can't, please tell people about the show and share the show. Share the show. Share the fucking show. As my buddy Ryan put up a sound bit from Alex Jones that did that. Okay. That's only one small portion of what I had to get to tonight. So I hope you're buckled up, because we're going to get to some more tough stuff. And we're going to start with what happened in Minneapolis this week. And yeah, you know, we've been warning about ICE stuff. Reverend Joe Blank, good to see you. How are you, sir? Thank you. We've been talking about ICE and the ramp up and escalation of ICE throughout the entire 2025 and into 2026 already. starting with the abduction of Mahmoud Khalil and Ramesia Ozturk off the street, kidnapping them out of their houses and taking them to detention facilities and locking them up for months on end without telling anyone where they were, shuffling them from facility to facility, not letting them see their lawyers, doing all kinds of stuff, and then building Alligator Alcatraz and calling that a holding processing facility, so they didn't actually have to have permanent stuff there, and trying to get around every rule in the book. And we've been warning that between ICE and Homeland Security and Border Patrol, which has all been kind of morphed into one mega organization under the Department of Homeland Security, that scary times were coming, and that with all the stuff that they've been warning us about for years in independent media about applying the military overseas subversion tactics overseas, that they would now be bringing those tactics here and applying them to American citizens, and starting with immigrants. And that's what they did, is they targeted students who were here who may have been pro-Palestine and anti-Israel, because they were targeted by Israel, who accelerated this entire thing. And it has now come to a head once again with an ICE agent literally murdering an American citizen in their car for what they considered to be obstruction of justice, which is nonsense. Yes, correct. Whatever they do over there, they will eventually do over here. For the most part, that is absolutely true, sadly. And I wish more people would actually kind of wake up to that. All right. And it's not just a Trump thing. This is a Zio-fascist DC thing. I totally agree. This goes much bigger than Trump, because Israel owns both sides. Israel buys off both sides. And there's a lot more than just Trump and the Trump administration that's making this happen. He's put people at the tops of every agency that will carry out what we're talking about here. But that's them that's actually doing that, not him. So, what happened? Murder on the streets of Minnesota. And Kay Pritzker, who was with Breakthrough News and now is over at the Gray Zone, did a frame-by-frame breakdown for 21 seconds of the shooting. So I'm going to go through it quick, and you're going to see it. I'm sorry for those who have, are struggle, or, it's blacked out for you on Rumble. That's weird. I don't know why, Greg. I'm sorry. It's not. Oh, sorry. Wrong thing. Distracted. Okay. Waves on the first car. So you can see already that she's waving a car around and that she's not stopping a car from going by. And I believe that is an ICE vehicle. So she's not really stopping them. Now the killer is here. That is her wife. She's lesbian. She's married. Okay. She turns this way. The agents get out of the car and they scream at her, "Get out of here, get out of here." All right. She says to them that I'm not I'm not mad at you. And she's smiling at them. She then cuts her wheel to the right. And then the officer fires at her 3 times. Shoots 3 times. So, before we get to that, I wanted to bring from the Marshall Project an article that indicated that before the ICE shooting, immigration agents had repeatedly used deadly force. That the killing of a Minneapolis woman is only the latest by ICE and Border Patrol officers in recent months. Others have been wounded or threatened with guns. So when an ICE agent shot and killed 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis on Wednesday, it was not the first time that federal officers have killed civilians since the Trump admin launched its aggressive immigration enforcement campaign. Federal officers have fatally shot at least 3 other people in the last 5 months, according to the news reports reviewed by the Marshall Project. And that's just the ones that we know about. In September, Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, a father originally from Mexico who worked as a cook, was killed while reportedly trying to flee from officers in the Chicago suburb. In December, a Border Patrol agent killed a 31-year-old Mexican citizen while trying to detain him in Rio Grande City, Texas. And on New Year's Eve, and I have this one in the next thing, an off-duty ICE agent used his service weapon to shoot a man in Los Angeles, California, according to CBS News. Authorities said that the man had raised a rifle at the officer, but of course we have no footage or proof of any of that. Agents have also shot other people. The Trace, which is a non-profit news organization that covers gun violence, has counted more than a dozen such shootings. In some cases, the victims survived, including a woman who suffered multiple bullet wounds at an incident in Chicago in October. The Border Patrol officer who shot her appeared to brag about it in a text message later presented in court evidence. The message reportedly read, "I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys." The shooting happened as part of Operation Midway Blitz, an immigration enforcement campaign in which federal agents fanned across Chicago, similar to what they're doing in Minneapolis now. The administration has also conducted large-scale blitzes in LA, Portland, New Orleans, and I believe in Charlotte, North Carolina as well. According to the New York Times, in the last 4 months, federal officers have fired on at least 9 people that we know about while they were in their vehicles like good. And it's illegal for them to do that, by the way. It's against their rules, Justice Department policy. In those cases, authorities said the drivers were attempting to use the vehicles to strike an officer. Again, it says specifically they're not allowed to shoot at the cars in self-defense. In Wednesday's shooting, DHS officials said that she attempted to run over officers in an attempt of domestic terrorism. We're going to hear that a lot. Minneapolis' Mayor Jacob Frey, who they're now grooming to become some national celebrity, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's on his way out, quickly disputed the federal description of the incident after they said they had viewed a video of the shooting. It then also polarized the entire country. Half of America was, all the right-wingers were happy or encouraging of this, even though it was a violation of civil rights and civil liberties, because they claim, again, she was obstructing justice, even though ICE technically isn't even really the cops with the authority to do that. And she wasn't blocking them. As you can see, she was letting people go by. She was merely getting in their way and slowing them down so that her neighbors could run away and get away. That was the plan here. All right. A pregnant Illinois woman told Newsweek she thought her life was about to end when a federal agent pointed his gun through her car window after she honked her horn to alert people that ICE was nearby. In another incident in Chicago, a combat veteran alleged in a court filing that a federal officer yelled, "Bang, bang," and "You're dead, liberal," while pointing a handgun at him. I mean, this is who they've recruited. This is what they're trying to do. We should not be surprised by any of this. DHS has, of course, routinely defended this because back the blue, they back each other, and big blue wall of silence. After federal agents federally shot Gonzalez, the cook in Chicago, during a traffic stop, Homeland Security claimed that an officer was seriously injured. Really? How about that? Because Jen Budd said, expect them to say that the agent who killed is now in the hospital, even though he clearly was not injured. The agent always has to be the victim. That played right into that there. A lawyer for Miramar Martinez, the woman shot 5 times in Chicago, said that body cam video contradicts the government's account that she drove towards officers before they shot her, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. Assault charges against Martinez were dropped. Of course they were. A judge has ordered that video be withheld from public release. I can't imagine why. Why? Especially if it would exonerate the ICE agent. After reviewing a video of Wednesday's shooting in Minneapolis that he said seemed to contradict federal officials' accounts that the driver was attempting to run them over when they shot her, Walz posted on social media, "Don't believe this propaganda machine." Walz is useless at this point anyway. Total lame duck. Fuck that guy. But like I said, there was a link from Palestine to Minneapolis. ICE and Israel use the same playbook. And there was a tweet about this. Mondo Weiss from Indie Media Award honoree. ICE uses the same playbook as Israel. Shoot first, block the ambulances. That's another big thing, was that when there were doctors that tried to give care to Renee Good, the ICE agents stopped them from getting there. Then they call the victim a terrorist and that victim's wife. Renee Good bled out in her car for 15 minutes while federal agents stopped medics from reaching her. Exactly what Israeli soldiers did to 17-year-old Ahmad Rajabi in Hebron weeks earlier. And I believe that Reef and Colin are going to talk about this week about just how much Israel is involved in training ICE agents. So I'm going to leave that to them. Maybe that was last week. But go read this article. I'm going to include it in the notes and in the Substack article with all the show links. Then we've got Adam Cochran. All right. And what is Adam Cochran? He's an investor, a professor, a policy consultant, and an independent investigative journalist. I truly need some of you idiots to understand that you need justification to even draw your weapon. Disobeying an order is not sufficient on its own for threatening lethal force. He switches his filming hand to free up his gun hand before anything happens. He then draws his weapon while she's reversing. She turns back around to see the gun in her face. If you believe that the car moving towards him was the threat that justified the shooting, why did he point a gun at her before that? All right, here's more footage from Alpha News, right, that claimed to exonerate this, but all right. Show me where the officer saw any reasonable threat. She's smiling. I'm not mad at you. He's filming. Why is he filming? Because DHS has told him to film. Why is he using his shooting hand? That's the thing. Jen Budd also over at Substack, jenbudd.substack.com. Here's where he then takes out his gun, boom, boom. And now her foot's on the accelerator. She could have hurt somebody then too, if you're really looking out for public safety. Of course, he's not. All right, 42 seconds is all it takes. The U.S. federal government really wants you to believe that this soccer mom with her lab in the car, whose last words were a calm, "That's fine, dude, I'm not mad at you," was a domestic terrorist. Beyond insanity. Through which window did he shoot her in the face? I think it was actually through the windshield, because I saw something where there's a picture of a bullet hole through the windshield, and then he shoots 2 more shots through the side window. Protesters set up a memorial for Renee Good, the mother of 3 and U.S. citizen who was shot 3 times in the face by ICE. ICE responded by stomping on the memorial candles and kicking them out of the way.
Really, you fucking punk? That's what you're gonna fucking do?
What?
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 What? Do you know what
Back
the fuck
up.
is that is for?
Back up.
What is that for?
Back up.
What is that for?
Back up.
What is that for?
Back up.
You're gonna push me? What is that for?
Back up.
What was that
I don't
for?
give a fuck.
You don't give a fuck about
Back
her?
up.
Bro, this is why we're here.
Back up.
This is why we're here. Really?
Fucking pieces of shit, pigs. Next. Protesters then established, after that, barricaded encampment-style blockades around the site where Renee Good was killed by ICE. The area is now sealed off, blocking access to law enforcement, ICE, and federal agents. So they don't fuck with the crime scene, and that people can possibly pay their respects. All right, that's shout out to freedomnews.tv for this footage. All right, there's people there protecting. And look, they're giving out food. This is a mutual aid thing. All right. Then we've got a little bit of levity. Comedian Sami Obeid. ICE is not the police.
Real police. They're law enforcement, but they don't have police authority. I call them, I can't believe it's not the police. They're like if the police were made with seed oils, you know? As an American citizen, you should know you have all of the rights. You don't lose any rights when you're around ICE. Your rights don't get frozen, you know? Anybody out there being like, well, you're supposed to obey. No, you have all your rights. You have the First Amendment, you can be like, fuck off, okay? You can even show them your gun. Be like, see that? Baby, that's number 2 right there, huh? ICE meet nice, okay? And then you also have the Third Amendment, which is like, you can't stay at my place. You know, it's, they're really like the modern day Gestapo. It really is like Nazi Germany, which is fitting because it's almost the 30s. I know, we're getting old. We all saw the video. A woman was murdered in her car. He claims that she was coming at him and trying to hit him with a car. Are you afraid of the bumper of a Honda? He's like, my life was a threat. No, you're a pussy, dude. You're afraid of a 3-point turn. What are you, her driver instructor? Now parallel park now, please. Trump puts out a statement saying she was a professional agitator. It's like, no, that's you. That's literally your job title at this point. Why do we have to politicize everything? You see all these people saying, oh, ever since Zoran became mayor, look at what happened in Minneapolis. Like, what the f*** are you connecting those two things? Zoran is the mayor of New York City. That's the Big Apple. This is the mini apple, okay? This is a different... Can't you just admit that he was wrong to shoot her? No, she was a radical leftist. All these radical leftists are just trying to harm officers. It's like, what the f***? Like, dude, she was a human being. She was trying to get away. Freeze frame, look at the slow-mo. She turns her wheels this way, trying to leave. Her wheels were turned to the right. No, but they're radical leftist wheels. No, no, no. This was a white woman. And if that doesn't scare you, white women, that's like a lot of the country, okay? I never make white women jokes. There's always this white women joke, oh, white women be out there calling people's managers. No, no. I love white women, and I will speak out for them and fight for them. When anything happens to a white woman, I be Karen, okay? Sorry, I really thought that would break the ice.
Terrible. I be Karen? Come
ICE
on.
is not the...
Very good, Sammy OB. For a little bit of levity in between segments here. Yeah, fuck ICE, and fuck what they did to this lady. And a 6-year-old daughter is now without a mother. And it's a tragedy. And it did not have to happen. They don't have to be in American cities now going door to door, breaking in people's doors, literally. It's disgraceful. And it's not obviously the place that we were raised in. It has been substantially changed. That place is obviously no longer exists. And it's like, okay, now how do we deal with what's going on here, and how do we fix all this? Because this is bad. And it's, again, I wish that what happened there were the only thing that happened that day even. But it didn't, okay? Because Border Patrol officers arrived at a Minneapolis high school while students were leaving and tackled, sprayed chemical irritants, and handcuffed parents and teachers. Public and high schools in Minneapolis were canceled classes for the rest of the week following the incident. So stay in school, kids. They want kids to stay in school. They want kids to get a good education. And then this is what they do to them while they're in school. Here we go. Jesus freaking Congress. Jesus freaking Congress. By far the most disturbing ICE video I've seen from Evanston, Illinois. An ICE agent points his gun at unarmed citizens twice. Then he goes around the SUV, drops to his knees, and presses his full weight onto a man's back. Moments later, that same man's head beaten into the pavement while the agent holds his head down. When they finally pull him up, his face is swollen, dazed, clearly concussed. And then they slam his head into the SUV and pin it there with their shoulder. You can't watch this and call it law enforcement. It's excessive force and criminal assault. All right. Here's the audio.
You piece of shit! Get the fuck out of here! You piece of shit! Leave her alone! Let her go! Let her go! Let her go! Let her go! Get the fuck out of here! Let her go! Let her go!
So they did like a bump stop and made her rear end them.
Fuck you, you piece of shit! You fucking piece of shit! Fuck you,
Drawing his weapon on an American.
leave her alone! You're a piece of shit! Fuck you! Get the fuck out of here! Pulling a gun on citizens? Fuck you! You violent piece of shit! Get the fuck out of here! Get out of here!
There's another one pulling a gun on people. Oh no, that's his phone. Sorry, he's holding up his phone and filming them, or is he threatening them with pepper spray? They've already got her in their car. Why are they still there?
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Oh, because they've got that guy on the ground.
Let him go! 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 Assholes!
The minute they find out he's not a citizen, they're obligated to let him go.
Get the fuck out of here! Let them go!
But what's happening is they're just doubling down.
Let him go! Hey! He's fucking hurting him! Let him go! Let him go! Let him go! Let him go!
Look at them, surrounding him with pepper spray.
Get out of here! You're a piece of shit! Get out of here! Get the fuck out of here! Get out of here! You leave! You leave! You leave! You fucking leave, you asshole! Let him go! Let him go! Let him go! Get the fuck out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here!
Jesus. Yeah, now they're slamming him against the car.
Go! Let him go! You leave! You leave! You fucking leave! Get the fuck out of here!
Well, that's nice. One thing that you could do potentially, but they'll bust you for it, is disable their vehicle so they can't get away with him and they can't take them away. They'll bring another vehicle likely, but that'll take time. Now, they talked about New Year's Eve, a black man being killed in Los Angeles. His name was Keith, I think Pookie Porter. Poofy or Pookie. All right. And not many people talked about this guy. An off-duty ICE agent who lived in the building confronted him and shot him because he shot celebratory gunshots in the air at midnight on New Year's Eve. Dead. Why? Ridiculous. But ICE continues to be out of control around the country. This one was especially egregious. All right. Now, I'm not even sure where this one was. All right. But then you've got the bootlickers. We have to arrest every domestic terrorist attacking and beating it. And look at these fucking bootlickers. This lady was literally sitting there.
Step back!
This is a clear escalation in case you haven't figured this out. These fucking thugs, which just got multi-billions of dollars of funding by the Trump administration, are ramping things up. Okay? They want people to retaliate. Here are photographs moments before this woman was calmly sitting on the ground. Now they have a rip. They're pulling her hair. They're grabbing her by her shirt. They're throwing her around. Why? She was sitting on the ground. But I wish I could stop there because I found too many of these to count. This one's pretty bad. ICE agents detain Violently, of course, a Virginia mom driving her daughter to school after she couldn't recall her social security number from memory, even after showing full legal documents. Which part of this looks like a professional force to you? Like,
Mama! Ma! 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 No! No!
like, what the fuck? These fucking pigs. This is the one that really got me super upset. This is a 17-year-old American who works at Target, at his job, taken by ICE, despite him screaming that he's a citizen. 8 minutes later, as they're driving in the car, they confirmed that he was. They dumped him at a Walmart. Bystanders found him sobbing, bleeding, and claiming that they slammed me on the ground. Well, they sure did. Let's see that one here, because people need to see what these fuckers are doing. Credit to Bring Me the News for the footage. Again, they're not supposed to put their knees on people's heads and on their necks. They don't care.
No, don't take my phone. Hey, you got my phone.
Where is the paperwork for that?
Where's the?
They do it on Target. They do it on Target.
Hey, don't. Stand up.
Where are their forms?
Hey,
Look at him, they just throw him around like a piece of meat. Look, his eyes are covered.
Jonathan Aguilar Garcia. I'm literally a U.S. citizen.
I'm literally a
U.S. citizen. Get the fuck out of here, Ray.
Why are you kidnapping a citizen? Why are you? Why?
Sir, give us your phone number. We'll call your family. Give us your phone number.
At least family.
Look at this guy. This bro. They're coming for you too. I hate to tell you, you fucking. What a piece of shit.
Let him get out his passport.
What's your name? What's your name? We'll find your family. Christian, what's your last name?
What? Hey, get back there now.
Give us what's the phone number we should call?
That's my mom.
He's yelling out the phone number. That's why they
Your first
bleeped
name's
it.
Christian, right?
Yeah. Show your papers or go to a black site. Where does that remind us of? But there's a lot more to this story, unfortunately. All right. And here's what we find out. First of all, video evidence that shows that both prior and post-arrest events, that this guy did nothing. It's in Richfield, Minnesota.
I'm literally a U.S. citizen.
Give us a
I'm
phone
literally a
number.
U.S. citizen. Get the fuck. Let him out of the vehicle. They tortured him. This guy right here, yeah. Tortured. You okay, man? No, I'm not okay. Bro, shit's crazy. My man's bleeding. They slammed me on the ground. We gotta be able to call somebody. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, who do you call?
You got family around? You got somebody here, man? Come on, we in here. Come on, man. You work here, don't you? No, I work at Target. You work, bro. Come on, bro. It's okay. That is so crazy. Man, slam this man up.
Motherfuckers. But worse, what we find out is that Homeland Security claims that he was arrested for assaulting federal enforcement officers under 18 U.S.C. 111. What? He assaulted an where? There's 9 dudes there. He assaulted them. Get the fuck out of here. You gaslighting motherfuckers. No, there was no assault. Here's the full video. He didn't even touch them. Here's the video of them showing up. Now, this piece of shit.
What's that?
I'm not doing all right. I'm not doing all right.
I can't hear
Back
what
up.
you're saying.
Is Greg Bovino.
See that? Look, they're recording. They're here.
He's the head of CBP.
What y'all doing? Go back
He's
up.
a fucking Nazi.
You good? Oh, absolutely.
Your face.
Absolutely. Oh, back up. I'm walking here. Back up.
Like that. Good show.
Hey, that's not a nice guy.
I don't give a fuck.
Good.
Fuck you and fuck all y'all. What you gonna do?
Hey, you guys American citizens?
Fuck you.
Huh? None of your business. That's what.
There's a wall there.
Fuck you.
All right.
Yeah, he's the
See that?
Gestapo leader. People are filming him from the minute he gets there. He comes with a camera crew, this piece of shit.
Blocking
So
traffic.
they want all this shit filmed, or the cameras. They want to terrorize people. And to
Blocking
realize that
traffic.
this could happen to them. I don't know why this keeps
Look at that.
stopping.
Bunch of y'all right there.
Fuck you.
Fuck every single one of y'all. Look at that.
Just gonna get a pic. Hold on.
Go ahead, take a pic right there.
All right. Let me get one of this guy here.
Right here.
Appreciate
That.
Fuck you. Huh? Fuck you. Come on. Fuck you. Fuck you.
They end up arresting him later on.
Fuck you.
And he was
don't touch
assaulting
him.
an officer.
Don't touch him. What are you doing? Come on. Yo.
I work here, bro.
Yeah, he works.
So the minute that he touches
Look at
him,
Fuck you.
he runs into him so that he can touch
Yeah.
him and then claim that he was
Look,
assaulted.
look, 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 look.
See,
Look,
that's
look,
when
right
he
here.
claims that he
Look,
was
look, right here.
assaulted.
Yo, let him go, let him go.
So again, yelling "fuck you" at a CBP officer is not grounds for them to tackle and beat the shit out of you and dump you 8 miles down the road. Not Bovino, Bovino, because he's a cow. Well, no, he's actually a pig. But somebody sent me this today and I thought it was hilarious. That's his scary shot. That he's very dark and mysterious and frightening. The only thing frightening about him is the fact that people have given him any kind of authority to do anything to anyone. And it continues. These two men were stopped by ICE in North Carolina. More U.S. citizens. They don't care if they're citizens. If you fit the profile, they're going to do this to you. When agents realize they're recording the encounter, they try to stop the guy from filming and then violently escalate the stop. Civil rights advocates say the stop is, of course, unconstitutional, violating the Fourth Amendment. Good luck in court. Watch this one. Do me a favor, turn off your video right now. How about no?
You're detained right now, sir.
No, we're not detained. They haven't told us we're detained.
They didn't say nothing about
I'm telling you right now, you're
No, we're not detained. Nope. Look.
I got that too on recording already. And you are not allowed to do this.
They're not detained.
Get off the phone.
Turn the phone off.
Like, when they tell these fuckers that they're not going to be held accountable,
Put your hands here.
they're going to be the jackbooted thugs that they want to be all the time. That their rules usually restrict them from becoming.
Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Hands right here.
No les metas aquí, puta madre. No les metas aquí, ¿o qué? No les metas aquí.
Stop moving around.
No les
You don't
metas
know
aquí, ¿o
if
qué?
there's weapons in here. You understand?
Why are you taking my phone away?
Again, all this on tape. They don't care. They know it's on tape. They know it's being filmed. This is another one. This is a Native American Chippewa Indian in Minnesota. Again, Minnesota. They're doing this in Minnesota partly because of the Mike Lindell, Jesse Ventura / not Jesse, the governor's race, which now Lindell is likely to win, amazingly enough, because Tim the Tampon Toolman decided to drop out, right? What just happened there? I think I hit the wrong button. All right. What did I do? I don't know. I don't know where I got left off here. From North Carolina. Hold on. Let me get back to this. I got my place on my document. North Carolina. Right. Native Americans. That's where we're at. This is also heartbreaking. But they're doing this to Native Americans. They detained a Native American, punched him repeatedly, even after he complied with the face scan. His mother brought his passport and birth certificate, but agents don't care. They just joke that he's not really from here. Can you help us? We're citizens. No, not to them. You're the wrong color to them.
Get your ID. We're native. What are you doing? Stop. Just get the ID. Police, can you help us? We're citizens. Bethel, get your ID. Just get the ID. Yes, he does. You just dropped on the seat. I just handed it to you.
Why are you guys running?
Because you guys are scary people. Let him scan your face.
So they're complying.
Why'd you hit him? No! Stop! What are you doing? No! Why are you hitting my nephew? Okay.
Hey, out there.
Stop! Ow! Okay, Bethel! Ow! Bethel! No!
American citizens, they're doing this too, everywhere.
They're punching it for no reason. Bethel, please, Papa!
The fuck?
Why did he hit me like that?
Because he wanted to.
That's my daughter's turn thing!
Like, the fuck? Criminals. And nobody will be held accountable. Here's another one. Another U.S. citizen detained by ICE on the way to work at a traffic stop. She's in scrubs. Helps people for a living, and this is how she's treated. She was released once agents checked her ID. Check ID first. Why do they cover their faces? The IDF. Now that makes sense. So let's watch this 49 seconds of horror. Unbelievable. These are Americans. They're not allowed to do this to Americans. So, because of that, let's get ready. You know this lady. Many of you do. Feeney, Faction Fire. Anybody know her? Longtime friend of the show. Yeah, she's got a message for all of us here.
Shock and awe is the point. And it's one thing for your mind to know that. It's a whole nother thing for your nervous system to have time to catch up. Right now, a lot of us are watching what's happening in Minnesota with ICE going door to door, breaking into families' homes and kidnapping them, and wondering if our cities, if our homes, if our communities are next. And some of us may be paralyzed by that fear. And I'm here to remind you that fear, shock, and awe is the point. And it is one thing for your mind to know that, but we all have to catch our nervous systems up to what is happening so we can prepare ourselves for what is next. Because the system only speaks one language. And we've been trying to speak to them in different languages, hoping that they would understand us, but they only speak in one language. And at this point, not only do we have to learn how to speak that language, we have to learn how to speak it better than them, more fluently than them, more fearlessly than them. I need you to grieve the life that you think is coming back. Grieve the person that you were when you were living that life, because right now we should no longer be in shock. To deny what is happening is afactual. To bargain and pretend like a fucking election is going to save us, like legislation is going to get us out of this, is delusional. But to be angry and to accept that only our anger and our radical love will save us from the situation is the only way forward. We may not have perfect solutions. We may not have all the answers. We may not have a clear path forward. But what we do have right now is a choice. A choice on whether or not we are going to let our hopelessness and our fear take us over and let this system bulldoze us. Or if we are going to be active participants in bringing about the future that all of us need. I don't have a good way to end this video, and I don't have any comforting fucking words. All I have to tell you is to get ready.
Get ready.
Get ready. Get your family members ready. Get your community ready. But be prepared, because things are going to get worse. Fear, shock, and awe is the point.
I wish I had a better message for you, but my sister Afeni was 100% spot on. Get ready. Know your neighbors. Look out for your neighbors. Fight for your neighbors and hope that they fight for you. But certainly, we can see that nobody in authority is coming to save us or gives a flying fuck. Certainly, the Democrats, they may have a committee about it. They may discuss it. They're even arguing whether they want to cut funding at all to these fucking thugs. It's unreal. So, my final assessment here is that I've been covering independent news on my live stream show for more than 4 years every week. I publish 6 to 7 days a week on Substack about geopolitics, amplifying the independent voices who consistently are accurate in their analysis and assessments of world events. What's been happening over the past year here in the United States is merely the shifting of U.S. military policy abroad to be applied here at home using a combination of Homeland Security, Customs Border Patrol, and ICE in partnership with corporate America to persecute and instill fear in groups of people who don't look like quote-unquote traditional Americans in the eyes of an ICE goon. That's literally how they're determining who they're stopping or not. Average-looking white people who question what they're doing or try to document their brutality are met with the same level of brutality and authoritarianism for people exercising their First Amendment rights. This was sadly predicted and warned about by many, but it's clearly here. And there clearly has been further escalation since the start of this year. Therefore, I compiled a playlist of all the segments in chronological order since they started kidnapping people off the street in March of 2025 with Mahmoud Khalil, Ramesia Ozturk, and too many others to name. As Avini said, we aren't voting our way out of this. Not much else we can do right now other than to protect our neighbors and families and organize. The only people who've been able to push these surges back are the communities who have each other's backs. And that playlist, again, is called Fuck ICE, documenting their escalation since March 2025. And again, there are 41 segments from this show and from How Do We Miss That on there, going back all the way to March of last year. So you can watch it from the beginning, from reverse, from end to beginning. I'm guessing you can probably also search it so that you can search it by the date added oldest first or published oldest, and that'll put them in the proper order for you to watch them chronologically. I'm sorry to do that to everyone, but I've been super upset about it all week, and that's the point. And that, again, is what I was talking about on that Facebook post, is that the point is the shock and awe. The point is to get us angry and wanting to respond. but we need to do it in a way that does not further allow them and to escalate even more, to declare the martial law that they're dying to declare. They want so badly to have things scale out of control so that all the training they've done at all those top cities that they built then goes into effect. And all the guns and all the weapons and all the things that the military's given them get used. And then they can replenish their stocks. Disgraceful. It really is. And it's frightening. Thank you, Wombat. I appreciate that. Again, I started to make a list. I was going to make a live stream, like a Fuck ICE live stream. And then I realized, holy crap, I've literally been talking about this like every single week to the point that there are 40 segments. It would take multiple days running nonstop to get those segments into a live stream. Maybe I'll break it up month by month, or we'll figure out a way to get that done the way that I did the Fuck Israel stuff. 12 days of Fuck Israel. Maybe we'll do 12 days of Fuck ICE next. I also need content for Monday nights because we have live things happening on INN 6 nights a week, but nothing on Monday nights. So this could be a way and a series that we can push through on Monday nights to get more people aware of how this escalated and that this is not new. Right? Lady Alex M., I've been aware of this hellscape in the U.S. since 1972. It'll only get worse until the multipolar world stops them. There is no multipolar world, Alex. I'm sorry. They're just not. They're also capitalists. They're all part of the system. From China to Russia to Brazil to now Venezuela, they're all part of it. They're all in on it. They all profit from it. They're not going to stop it. If they didn't stop genocide for 2 years in Gaza, how are they going to stop this? They're going to start now? Where? They're going to rescue us from our government? They're going to invade America because we've been taken over by some kind of a fascist thing that our people actually voted for? Like, I wish that were the case. Again, I don't really believe in the multipolar world anymore. I don't, because I think that BRICS is just another alliance of big countries without the United States, but it's still going to try to set the terms on things. It's not bringing in a different kind of a different way of life. It's still capitalism. It's just capitalism where the U.S. isn't fully in charge. The fact that they've been able to get Putin to go along with the whole Syria stuff and not say a word with Iran, and when they signed that deal with Iran, that it did not include a strategic military alliance. So if Iran gets bombed, it's not obligated for Russia to get involved to defend them, and vice versa. What is that? What kind of statement does that make? That everybody else is alone, while the United States has got a massive alliance with $1 trillion military behind them that everybody else combined can't pale in comparison to. I don't know what the answer is, because we are the bullies on the block, and I don't know how to, who's going to stop them. All right. I'm sorry. I don't want to be correct, but that's the reality. But again, support independent media, because I don't know too many other outlets that would bring you all that stuff. And again, I'm not doing it to shock and awe you. What I'm doing is to let people know that this is real, that it's documented, that it's being escalated, and to get prepared. And what's the next step now that we know that this is actually happening? Support independent media with Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, at paypal.me/Indie News Network. And thank you to Ralph Mejia for $50 earlier today. He just randomly comes through with $50, and I love it. I really appreciate it. So appreciated and needed. All right. At patreon.com/Indie News Network. And over at IndieNewsNow.com, we're actually live over there now. And anytime INN is live, we're live and co-streaming over to that network. So even if every single platform decided that they wanted to shut our account down, we'd still be live over there. And then we've got the Substacks over at IndieMediaToday.com, where we're live right now, and at INNNewsletter.com, where I also manage and publish that newsletter, put out a weekly update for the network, and help publish the podcasts for the live streams that go there. And that's American Tradition with Jesse Jett and INN News and Boat Smashing into Other Boats. Those all stream over at INNnewsletter.com exclusively. So that gives you a reason to sign up there as well. You are going to get different content than IndieMediaToday.com. So, and you still have a lightning round. I thought that would take way more to get through all that stuff. But, oh, this is actually, you know why? No, that's because I only got through 3 of my 4 stories. And this actually dovetails into the rest of it. It all kind of is connected together. But this is an article that I discovered from a guy by the name of James Ray, who publishes a publication called Commie Corner. Right? We're all going to be called terrorists eventually. And what my reply to seeing that thumbnail was that, guess what? They did it to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks in 2018. Let's not forget, all right, that all of this, the reason why I'm here, really still, the reason why a lot of us are here and connected to each other is because of Julian Assange. And because of what they did to Julian Assange, which we can never forget. And like our friend Misty had said for a long time.
We're fucked.
No, not we're fucked.
We're fucked.
That's not what I meant. Just that Julian is a canary in the coal mine. Thank you, Julian, because he exposed so much of this stuff years before. And that they were doing this to him because he was ahead of the game and showed us a path that nobody seems to be following. So what does Comic Corner say here? And this is a somewhat long article, but I think it's worth reading. That the term terrorism has been weaponized for years by the United States to delegitimize and criminalize those it deems oppositional to its interests. And it's only going to get worse. Again, I don't think that that's really a surprise that we will all be called terrorists. And I've been saying for a long time, I'll see you in CCOT. All right, but this person says, the first time I began seriously questioning the usage of the term terrorism, it was amid a conversation being held between a small group of students in a terrorism and WMD threat assessment and our professor. The class itself was fascinating, disagree, and that was one that was well out of my depth, as I had unknowingly signed up for a class comprised of graduate students as I pushed through my 3rd year of undergrad studies. Our professor, an older, soft-spoken Jamaican man who had a background in security related to nuclear facilities, spy, was parsing through the various definitions of terrorism held by various U.S. government entities. Unsurprisingly, these definitions varied amongst one another, oftentimes being tailored to the agencies themselves based on relevant purviews. But as he jumped from one definition to the next, he took note of this, stating that it was difficult at times to pin down a definitive, all-encompassing standard for what constituted an act of terror. By design, as I said to myself as I was reading this. As he spoke on these intricacies and shortcomings of the label, he then shifted focus to something I hadn't come across in my studies thus far. The efforts by the U.S. to criminalize environmental activism through the labeling of the activities of groups engaged in direct action as terrorism. Eco-terrorism, he stated, became a popular label for actions that point to that point had become a nuisance to industries engaged in harmful environmental practices. So this, as stated in a archival material, since 1977, when disaffected members of the ecological preservation group Greenpeace formed the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and attacked commercial fishing operations by cutting drift nets, acts of eco-terrorism have occurred around the globe. The FBI defines eco-terrorism as the use or threatened use of violence of a criminal nature against innocent victims or property by an environmentally oriented subnational group for environmental political reasons or aimed at an audience beyond the target, often of a symbolic nature. The FBI focus on eco-terrorism extended well beyond just Sea Shepherd and their actions against the fishing industry. Within these same documents, the Animal Liberation Front, the Earth First Movement, The Coalition to Save the Preserves and the Earth Liberation Front are also mentioned. Their acts of terror were primarily related to monkey wrenching, or acts of sabotage that targeted industrial equipment or other infrastructure of what these groups deemed environmentally harmful companies and operations. These acts oftentimes took the form of spiking, in which organizers would hammer a metal rod or a nail or other materials into tree trunks to disrupt logging operations, the cutting of fishing nets, arson, the destruction of logging and construction equipment, and other acts of this nature, like what the Stop Cop City activists did in the forest, in the Wiley Forest down in Atlanta, that resulted in the murder of Tortuguita. As we dug into these acts, I couldn't help but think that none of these actions fit squarely in my contemporary understanding of terrorism. The word invoked images of bombs detonating in busy streets, of planes flying into buildings, or mass shootings and other similarly violent acts. An environmental collective sabotaging logging equipment, on the other hand, seemed like a fairly understandable and even defensible instance of direct action. After all, these protesters had oftentimes tried other methods before these actions and had seen corporate interests triumph over the health of the forests and waterways they cared so much about. So what was the FBI doing focusing on a damaged fishing net? Well, the answer became somewhat clear as I continued reading through the agency's archival materials, which went to great lengths to emphasize the economic damages of these actions. Again, capitalism. Money over people, profits over people all day. Our professor made sure to note that dynamic as well, noting that the economic impact drove focus onto these groups who happened to stand in the way of profits for the logging and fisheries industries, among others. The label, it seemed, was born out of an effort to protect corporate interests against those who might stand against their destructive efforts. It was a lesson that challenged me to reassess my understanding of not just terrorism, but why the label existed in the first place. It didn't take long once the seeds were planted to begin reevaluating U.S. foreign policy, particularly how we ascribe the label of terrorist to some groups but not others, as well as calling the acts of some nations acts of terror, as other nations committing similar acts were labeled as having acted in self-defense. Conveniently, the latter were nearly universally our allies, their actions advancing U.S. interests. By this time, I had met Palestinians who themselves were often labeled as terrorist threats by their colonial occupier simply for existing on their ancestral land. The Israeli military would regularly bomb Gaza in lethal operations they called mowing the grass and faced little to no condemnations, whereas Palestinians engaging in armed resistance immediately found themselves labeled as terrorists, thus justifying more violence by the Israeli occupational forces. A friend I had made from the West Bank had described his run-ins with the Israeli military and the harm they had done to him and those close to him. Was he a terrorist if he stood up against them? It seemed absurd and contradictory situation. Not a fan of DSA, but I am a fan of pro-Palestine protests. I think they're LARPing as Democrats, but that's a whole other story. What seemed like a contradiction, however, was just a failure to re-examine my premises. As I grew older, I saw example after example of protesters in the United States, armed insurgents and revolutionaries, and anyone who stood in the way of the status quo being labeled terrorists. The word, it seemed, had no functional meaning, but certainly did have a political use. Want to delegitimize a movement or its tactics? Call them terrorists. Want to justify a drone strike in a sovereign nation? Say that your targets were terrorists. Want to destroy a hospital in Palestine or a pharmaceutical factory in Sudan? Call it terrorist infrastructure. What's more, as the years go by, the term is seemingly expanding to encompass larger and increasingly vague groups of people within the United States and across the world. The recent announcement of Donald Trump's NSPM-7 National Security Directive set the stage for the crackdown and targeting of groups and individuals nationwide who fit this criteria. And I think everyone in this chat, including myself, fits this criteria in at least one way, in being anti-capitalist. In being anti-American? I'm not anti-American. This is not American what's happening here. Anti-Christianity? Absolutely. 100% against religion in general, including Christianity and Judaism. I'm against that too. And Zionism, which is a political movement. Support for the overthrow of the United States government? Well, if they keep pushing people, what are you going to do? Extremism on migration. Again, define what extremism means. I don't believe in open borders, but I don't believe that our policy is the right one. So is that extreme? Extremism on race, extremism on gender, and then the hostility thing is insane. Hostility toward those who hold traditional American views on religion. How about fuck that? So atheists are now targeted. Fuck that. And then on morality, who defines what American views on morality are? How many people we got in fucking murders we got in prison right now? It's not hard to see how this could apply to vast swaths of individuals, particularly those focused on those on the organized, quote unquote, left. The vague standards outlined in NSPM 7 give federal agents the ability to interpret a target's positions on various issues as strictly or loosely as they need to justify their operations. And let's remember, this didn't start with Trump either. Successive administrations from Bush to Biden have all played a role in giving U.S. agencies broad leeway to target quote-unquote subversives and those that they may even deem terrorist threats. Obama was president under Occupy. The goal is clear: stifle dissent and crack down on individuals and groups that challenge the status quo. Again, that's a direct attack on us. I'm not going to stop doing this until they put me in a hole, if they do. As these vague standards continue to be applied to organizers across this country, including those engaged in direct action against arms manufacturing facilities in support of Palestine today, the stage is being set for widespread designation of organizations and individuals as terrorists in an effort to delegitimize and criminalize them. That's what they're going to try to do to Francesca Albanese. They already are claiming that she's aligning with Hamas. That's what they did to Richard Medhurst. That's what they did to Sarah Wilkinson. That's what they're doing to journalists in order to silence them. Organizations like Samidun, a pro-Palestine prisoner solidarity organization, have already been targeted in such a way, and they won't be the last. Movement crackdowns are sure to continue, and we're likely not to see further weaponization of the term terrorist, but also defensive movements from above-ground political organizations as they try to avoid such a designation for as long as they can. I very vividly recall the Real News dropping Chris Hedges specifically because they were afraid that he would get their organization designated as support for terrorists. They separated from him after October 7th. This could in itself have damaging effects as movement organizations attempting to defang themselves in an effort to stave off what may well be inevitable to the detriment of the movement. Organizations like DSA will definitely start to bend the knee and weed people out of their ranks that could possibly get them disbanded or get their charter taken away. The reality of the crisis that we face is decades in the making, constructed in myriad ways that have helped deepen the resources of state intelligence and security apparatuses and cast a wide enough net to justify state violence against the state, those that the state deems the opposition. We face a future where we all may be deemed terrorists eventually, at least those doing work that challenges the state of things. As this reality draws nearer, we must re-examine our relationship to the term and push back on its usage against groups at home and abroad. We cannot hope to dull the sting of the term against ourselves if we allow it to be weaponized against those abroad. Terrorism is ultimately a near meaningless term with more political than functional use. It will be used to delegitimize us and crack down on our organizations and networks. We must push back and acknowledge the label for what it is. Launched 7 months ago by James Ray. I like that article by Commie Corner. Go give them a shout out, follow them. And then you can read the comments there too. And that's commiecorner.substack.com. Okay. So now I've got a lightning round still to get to before I do support independent media, because we need it more than ever. The ways to do that are through Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, or paypal.me/Indie News Network. We have patreon.com/Indie News Network, where you can subscribe monthly. We have our website with a Stripe plugin at the Keep the News Free section at IndieNewsNow.com. And then we've got, I prefer you don't do it at the platforms, but if you must and you feel like subscribing annually over at IndieMediaToday.com or at INNNewsletter.com, you can do that over at Substack. Substack takes a cut and Stripe takes a cut. And we're trying to separate our money from the platforms as much as possible. If that's where you're comfortable doing it, fine, we really appreciate it. Anything that you want to do, we really, really do appreciate. But we are also trying to separate our money from the platforms and not reward them for just having a place to publish. Okay, now we're going to get to the lightning round. Before we do, let me get to a couple of comments here. Yeah, Lady Alex, I hear, is in New Mexico. Lots of cacti out there. That's nice. Yeah, ice cubes make great fertilizer. Good to know. Thanks, Joe Blank. Good to see you. Vicky Adams, I see, is out there. I see Sean the Accord Lord and Descent in Bloom and Grape and Teen. Cowboy Kitty, good to see you, my brother. David McBride, there's another one. Thank you. Lady Alex M. For some other people that were canaries in the coal mine. It wasn't just Julian Assange, but David McBride was an Australian whistleblower who we've covered. Oh, thank you, Alex. Really. My ability to present this, I mean, I pull this stuff together all week. As I see things, I throw them into a channel in a Discord, and then I organize it into a document and lay out the tabs, and somehow it all kind of seems to fit together into a thread, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, I see Oz the Boomer. We're going to talk about Oz the Boomer in a few minutes. Oz Silver's at 92. No! Oh, my God. I was predicting a crash. Oz has predicting it's going to go to 100 quickly, and we've been having a little conversation about that between us. Natalie, where do we want you to give again? Is over at Cash App. $ Indie News Network is the best place to do it. There's no fees there. Or over at, if you do it at ko-fi.com, it'll pop a thing up on screen and we'll be able to see your comment. All right. Thank you, Sean. Love you. Thank you to everyone, really. Okay. Let me get to these and then we'll get to the GoFundMes. This is insane. And again, in that whole vein of us being labeled terrorists, this one's a crazy one. An activist facing arrest for distributing physical magazines in the Houston area. This is over at Indie Media Award honoree Truth Out. They've been a little TDSy, I will be the first to admit. I have not brought nearly as many of their stories as before. But this whole story is insane. So this is in response to, remember there was an ICE agent that was killed at an ICE facility, or allegedly, and there were people that were protesting. They arrested 16 people. And these are the people that were protesting to get those arrested out. Because 16 people didn't kill an ICE agent. What's going on here? Texas resident Des Revol, in particular, is being targeted by the Trump admin under these guidelines. He did not attend the July 4th demonstration in Alvarado, but he was arrested 2 days afterwards after he had a phone call with his wife, who was detained at the noise demonstration. FBI agents stopped him for a traffic violation in Denton, Texas. Anthony Malecki, our friend Cowboy Kitty, will know all about that, and took him into custody at gunpoint. Authorities charged him with evidence tampering, constituting obstruction of justice, as well as conspiracy, alleging that he transported a box that contained numerous Antifa materials from his residence to another location. This literature, which is pamphlets and magazines commonly found in activist spaces, became the basis for his prosecution. Despite having no connection to the original demonstration, he's facing potential federal imprisonment and additional risks from both immigration enforcement and hostile right-wing groups that have publicly now targeted, identified, and doxed him online. Insane for publishing, for distributing a magazine. So read this story. This is another insane. This whole episode is just fuck ICE. Because on top of all of that, this gentleman, Austin at PhD, ICE just reported its 4th in custody death of 2026 on January 10th. Now remember, again, we did a story a couple of weeks back that ICE was claiming, well, it's less than a 1% death rate. But based on the number of people they have currently in ICE facilities, that would be 600 deaths. We're already up to 4, at least. And that was 3 days ago. And Austin actually wrote an article about this, or Andrew Free did, over at detentionkills.substack.com, documenting exactly who was murdered and where. All right, and their stories. I don't want to go through them. It's just incredibly depressing. But I'll put it in the document. I also wanted to mention that when it comes to Venezuela, there's a whole lot of dumb, uninformed takes from people on this app and on Twitter who are absolutely certain that they know what they're talking about. They're literally pushing CIA propaganda and don't ever talk about foreign policy or study history. It's all red, white, and blue dumbassery from both halves of the corporate-owned duopoly. Both sides of donors want this to happen. My advice to people, work hard to find trustworthy sources that have a track record of being ahead of the news. Usually you'll find that the USA is behind the coups and the destabilization, and anyone selling the opposite is either an agent or a moron. Keep that in mind. All right, anyone that called Maduro a dictator, an agent, or a moron. Anyone that cheered on the oil and gas industry getting their hands on Venezuelan oil because our gas will end up cheaper. An absolute fucking useful idiot moron. Don't listen to these people. All right, and support independent media as usual because we need it more than ever. Now notice I just went through an entire 2-hour show and I did not show one bit of corporate media. It is possible to do this, and it is something that I will get on my soapbox and talk about every single week that I can. And you guys watch other shows, and I very often see them showing stuff from The Hill Rising or CNN or MSNBC or TYT or Breaking Points or any of these multi-millionaire run corporate level facilities. Even if they call themselves independent, they're corporate and they are pushing duopoly talking points. You're doing them a favor. You're helping them by showing their thing and reacting to it. Don't do that. Find a source somewhere else. Find an independent source. Champion independent media if you're truly independent. Those fuckers would bus roll you tomorrow if they could. Why are you helping them? They are not helping you, even though you think they might be. So again, support independent media because we need it more than ever. The ways to do that for INN, Cash App, $ Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. Patreon.com/Indie News Network. And our website at IndieNewsNow.com because we believe in having our own website so that we are completely free of any platform. And we're self-hosted to that website. And then at Substack, where we also have a large presence, IndieMediaToday.com and INNNewsletter.com. Thank you to everybody who's over there. I appreciate if you check out IndieNewsNow.com. That is where we actually aggregate a bunch of Substack feeds into Indie News Now and show it to you completely ad-free. Now, at the end of the show, it's kind of been a tradition and something that I feel strongly about, which is showing GoFundMe's for people in need. I'm a big believer of using this platform to amplify the stories and the causes of people who really need it and are, of course, deserving. Everyone's deserving, but these are people that are close to us, that are members of our community, and they need help. So the first one I'm going to start with, and I need to actually go and grab a link from my server here, is Shanda Masta. And we've been talking about Shanda for the last almost 18 months, believe it or not, because Shanda was diagnosed with small cell lung cancer. And she went through treatment, and we thought that she had beaten it, and it came back, and it spread. And then she went through treatment again, and she hasn't been doing so great. And she went for some experimental treatments at Fred Hutch, which led to a lot of pain. And things were really tough for her this week. And she got a visit from some friends. And she put that on her Facebook the other day. Roar Media pulled out all the stops to surprise me. Every time my door opened yesterday, a face I love but hadn't seen in forever would walk in. I haven't wanted and needed for anything this entire treatment. Many know, but for those who don't, I'm currently at the University of Washington, where I'm being treated by Fred Hutch Cancer Center with a new medication that got fast-tracked by the FDA last year for small cell lung cancer. It's known to have severe side effects. I had my first treatment Friday night, and it was the most painful night of my life. And now, sadly, the cancer has moved into my left eye, which is so painful I can't even attempt to describe the pain, but because of the resilience and the amazing support I have from so many, I'm going to continue forward and keep getting the treatments, and hopefully they'll help. I can't thank the many of you who send me messages and well wishes and donations and love and prayers enough. She's apologizing for not responding to a lot of the correspondence because she's so very sick, but she loves us all and promises to do that. She does see them and she does hear them. And there's a shot of Oz and Linda and Pasta and Amber visiting her in the hospital. My brother Pasta flew all the way to Seattle for this. Love you. Thank you. You're a mensch. There's Shanda. Again, she put these pictures up herself. All right. Just to fuck cancer so we know, this is what we're up against. She actually put up some more pictures today on her Facebook of hugging Pasta. And again, it means so much for members of the community that step up and help each other. And man, it's heartbreaking, and fuck cancer. And we're pulling for Shanda every day as she fights this, and we're standing there with her. So again, if you're able to, and it means, there's her GoFundMe. I'll put the link in all the chats. So that, and again, they will be in the description for the Substack for the episode afterwards. I also will cut this segment and put that out as its own clip, and the link to the GoFundMe will be in that description as well. Every day, fuck cancer every day, and we love Shanda every day. Unfortunately, Shanda's not the only member of our community that needs help financially. There's also Natalia, and that's again our friend Cowboy Kitty. His sister-in-law was taken. We talked about ICE stopping people in their car, abducting them, and throwing them in ICE facilities detention. Natalia was there for months. They've been, I don't know if she's been deported yet, but they've been talking about deporting her. I know there's a lawyer that's trying to fight the deportation. And we could use some help to her GoFundMe as well. Again, we're at 1,800 out of 4,500. Thank you to everybody who has. I know that it's the times are super tough out there. I'm going to, again, copy this link, and I'm going to pop that into all the chats so that people who want to support possibly can. And fuck ICE for that too. Again, this woman was driving a truck and following the rules and doing all the things she's supposed to do. They don't care. They don't care if it's an American citizen these days. We know this. And then, of course, we've also talked about justice for Aspen. Aspen Martin was in the wrong. Aspen Martin is the daughter of Halo Benson. Both of them are Assange activists in the Oklahoma for Assange movement. Good friends with Chase Miller. Aspen and Chase were friends. And Aspen went to Nashville to visit her friend over in May. The friend they were all supposed to go to a festival together in Florida. The friend and his girlfriend couldn't go, but Aspen went with their other friend in his RV. And on the way back from Florida, they got pulled over in Georgia. And that RV was searched. And the cop found a mass quantity of drugs, like that they accused her of being a pusher, of trafficking, along with the person who was driving the RV. She didn't even know the drugs were there. She was literally in the wrong place at the wrong time, literally for a ride to have a fun weekend with her family. Yeah, justice for Aspen. And now she's facing decades in federal prison. It's heartbreaking. This woman is not a criminal. This woman should be going to art school. She does have art. If you want to purchase it, you can purchase it by going to linktr.ee/justice and the number 4 Aspen. And then you can get to her art spend studio there. You can read the article that Descent in Bloom, who's in chat, wrote about Aspen and about her story. And you can watch the one-on-one that I did interviewing her and her mom, or the live stream fundraiser that we did that helped get them to $12,500 to their GoFundMe that has kind of stalled since then. They were able to hire the investigator. Halo sent fudge for Christmas to my family. The kids loved it, as did I. And I asked her how things are doing, and Aspen's trying to hold it together. They hired an investigator to start the process of the next step, but they still need so much more, and anything that anybody can do, we really appreciate. And again, I'm going to share Aspen's link to her GoFundMe in the chats as well. So if anybody is able to, and they want to help, please, it really makes a big difference. Okay, and then finally, I've been mentioning Indie News Now, the website, all night long. The name of the show is called Indie News Now Live, and it's because we are actually live on IndieNewsNow.com. But there's so much more to this website. It is a 24/7 fire hose of RSS news feed and Rumble videos and Odyssey videos, and you can find all of that ad-free, linking directly to the website that published it, from Sludge to Anti-War to Mondo Weiss to Israel-Palestine News and ProPublica, and even to Indie Media Today for this live stream alert and all the links. This is, by the way, where all of the live stream links will be from everything I showed tonight. Okay, so go to Indie News Now, bookmark it. It literally updates 24/7 on its own. It runs by itself. You can also break down and just look at articles, podcasts, or videos, or go to our Watch Live section where we literally are live right now. Also there, you can click on the merch link, and we have a merch store. Oh, I skipped over it. There's our merch store. All right. Merch store, you can pick up t-shirts, you can pick up beanies, you can pick up sweatshirts or tank tops or stickers, but definitely do that. They're inexpensive. $20 to $23 a shirt, $29 or $32 for a sweatshirt, $19 for a beanie. I mean, really inexpensive, reasonably priced, and another good way for you to advertise and get the word out there for INN. And I am spent. Oh, by the way, also, IndieMediaToday.com. We're live there now, but I did want to let people know that this is what the website looks like. There is a website that you can go to. These are some of the original articles that I've written that are popular. All the original articles are categorized here. You can also watch all the clips from this show as their own list right here, and that is also a podcast. All of the live stream replays are here on the Indie News Now live section. Anytime I'm a guest on a show, I try to cut that up and put that here under guest appearances. So you've got different categories of content to watch at this website, which again is updated daily. And even at this site, the Indie News Now Live Clips podcast is right here. And you can listen to all the clips, and you can see we put one out yesterday from the GoFundMes from last week. And I do that every week. There's the one from December 30th. So there's a lot to do at Indie Media Today. There's a lot to do at INN Newsletter. There's a lot to do at Indie News Now. We try to give you so much stuff that you don't need to go anywhere else, but you're still served with a variety of content that gives you a wide perspective. And I thank you all for sticking with me. That was rough. And that's a lot of shit, man. It's exhausting to do this. It wears on you, and I appreciate everybody in this community that keeps me motivated and wanting to do this and track all this stuff and stay informed. I encourage everyone again to support independent media because we need it more than ever. I will see you next week, fam. See you next Tuesday. And hey, nobody wants to wait a minute. It's we just lost the stream. Is gone. I lost my sound bit. Holy crap. That's weird. Really weird. Okay. I guess we didn't just lose the fucking stream. I guess we don't get to do that anymore. We'll do this one instead.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
All right. That's interesting. Have a good night, fam. I love you. Support independent media. We need it more than ever. Night.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to me, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe?
Last stand, and I came to deliver. Been called a Clinton operative, a Russian, and a grifter. By libs, a Washington student debt, proud to be an intern, sucking up to pigs who get a tax cut in the midterms. You cut the ties but never heal the wrist burns. Capitalist shackles wrap and penetrate like ringworms. around the necks of those whose deaths will not affect the king's purse or the coffers of the company the king serves, who manufacture mandated tinctures. Their safety data hanging from a fixture, half a mile skyward, just dangling from the rafters. My grift is sobbing till I'm cackling with laughter. I guess I would have made a decent actor. I'd be great at crying on command until they cut plus 40 minutes after. When the director waves a hand, it ain't a rap, it's now a legal matter. Honey, my grift is weeping on a mic until I'm hacking up airstrike verses like it's bombs away and batter up. Swinging on these bigots, they keep killing us to fatten up. Kill the switch, eat the rich, I think they're finally fat enough. Grab your knife and fork, the world is yours, just say you've had enough. And if you're comfy, you could go ahead and laugh it up. Tell me how the most important vote I'll ever cast is like the choosing of a bus, in that it might not take you anywhere you want, but no one can deny the fact the bus is now no longer where it was. And that's the kind of progress we should celebrate and trust. Spoken like a kid who never took a bus. Spoken like a piece of shit that used some cash to mask his stink and truly thinks he's one of us. Spoken like a terminally unserious person who equates our cries for rights to mixed up orders from a server. It paints a privileged picture of what you would label urgent if the worst thing you've experienced in life has been the time your waiter accidentally brought a tray of gold flake scallop when you clearly ordered gold flake urchin. And now you're storming out the restaurant and hopping in a Tesla. You got 80 pounds of Tony Fauci merchant.
Rewind 2 chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. Rewind 2 chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride.
Best to place your bets on weaponizing the identity of every limp progressive claiming grassroots integrity. Policy is a slippery slope for all of its complexity, so flex your brave resistance with this Ilhan Omar NFT. Numbered 1 of 723. Each depicts her valiantly championing a bill before she lays it at a donor's feet. And she can throw her hands up in the air with AOC and say if only Nina Turner could have voted present too, that's why we need another seat. We need some more progressives we elect to only tweet, who live to serve humana and their label of elective slapped on every patient's gravest needs. And every station plays the theme that medical professionals agree on the effectiveness and